Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm just giving folks time for their audio to connect. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is Maya Lloyd, and I am the Student Career Program Manager for the Offices of Experiential Learning and Career Services. So today we are going to hear from the United States Food and Drug Administration's Office of Inspections and Investigations. So you will hear from two presenters, including our very own a CUNY SPH environmental student. They will speak on the various hiring pathways for full-time roles and student opportunities. And we also have a representative from the OII office. So there will be time for a Q&A at the end of the presentation, but you can put questions in the chat if you have any, and we'll try to answer those as the session goes along. You will also receive the recording of the event as well as a PDF of the slides and other relevant resources after today's event, and that will all come through a handshake email. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our presenters for the day.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Commander Juan Tran, an officer of the U.S. Public Health Service, currently assigned to the Food and Drug Administration. At the FDA, I serve as a Commission Corps Associate Liaison to support any personnel actions and HR activities for our officers of the Public Health Service that are assigned to the Office of Inspections and Investigations. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today regarding FDA's Office of Inspections and Investigations, otherwise known as OII, and our role in protecting public health, as well as the opportunities that are available for students and public health professionals at our agency. During today's presentation, I will provide an overview of the U.S. Public Health Service and the roles for public health professionals within our Corps. I will also discuss the role of the FDA, the OII, and how we protect public health and the various opportunities for you to serve, including our student pathways. We will also hear from Ensign Tatsuya Hondo, a student from CUNY SPH, on his experience as a junior co-step with the FDA's Division of Northeast Imports. Lastly, we will reserve some time for questions towards the end, and a copy of the slide deck will be provided later following the presentation. So the United States Public Health Service Commission Corps is one of the 8 uniformed services of the U.S., and we have approximately 5,500 officers across 11 professional categories. Our officers serve in over 38 federal agencies and over 800 locations worldwide. Our mission is to protect, promote, and advance the health and safety of the nation. And our core values are leadership, service, integrity, and excellence. As a uniform service, our officers wear a uniform and follow the same rank structure as other sea services like the Navy. As you can see here, the different ranks is ensigns, lieutenant, junior grade, lieutenant, lieutenant commander, commander, captain, and so on, all the way up to being an admiral. Within the service, our officers provide essential health services, focusing on providing care to the most underserved populations, such as those served by the Indian Health Services, the Bureau of Prisons, Immigration and Custom Enforcement's Immigration Health Service Corps, or officers also serve in frontline public health emergencies. Our officers quickly deploy to respond to natural disaster, disease outbreak, and global health emergencies, as well as serve on humanitarian missions. For example, while my primary job is at the FDA, if there was a natural disaster or other emergencies, I could deploy to support those responses. Our officers have responded through thousands of deployments, including hurricane response, Ebola response, COVID-19 response, and numerous other emergencies. During the Ebola crisis, the Commission Corps officers actually went over to Liberia and set up a field hospital where we treated healthcare providers during that crisis. Our officers also work at various leadership level within the Department of Health and Human Services at the various agencies to lead public health programs and policy development, as well as advancing innovations in science by working at the forefront of national and international challenges like COVID-19 and cancer. So these are the 11 categories of officers that are in the U.S. Public Health Service. You can see medical, dentists, veterinarian, nurses, therapists, pharmacists, dietitians, health services engineer, and environmental health and scientists. The biggest category and the broadest category, I would say the broadest category within our service is the health services category, where it comprises of officers from various disciplines. And at the bottom, you see a few examples of the agencies where our officers are assigned. There are actually about 38 agencies where our officers work. The FDA has the second highest number of US PHS officers assigned anywhere. So what does public health professionals, what role does public health professionals play in the US Public Health Service? Public health professionals with a master's degree from a CEPH accredited program are eligible to commission into the US Public Health Service as a health services officer or environmental health officers, depending on your specialty and discipline. When assigned to the FDA, these are some of the possible roles that public health professionals may be in. Please note this list is not at all inclusive, and there are many other positions that public health professionals can serve. So some examples are clinical reviewers, compliance officers, consumer safety officers. These are also known as our investigators, emergency management specialists, epidemiologists, health scientists. So you can see there's such a wide variety of options that are available. I will also note that as a US Public Health Service officer, you're not really limited by your degree or category when it comes to the roles that you can serve. For example, while I am a pharmacist by training, I currently serve in a public health workforce management role. If I had training and experience with emergency management, which I could obtain throughout the course of my career, either through additional training or deployments or additional exposures, I could potentially serve in an emergency response coordinator role. So this is generally true for other categories within the public health service. So why join the public health service? There's a wide variety of reasons to consider the US Public Health Service. One is really for the opportunity to serve, either through working directly with the underserved population or through responding to disasters and epidemic, or it's working on a regulatory or policy level nationally. Two, for the diverse opportunities and professional growth that comes with the career flexibility of an officer. As I mentioned before, you're not bounded by your degree or category. Opportunities are widely available as long as you have pursued the training and experience that fits the position. Additionally, as uniformed services member, we also receive the same pay package and benefit package as the rest of the military, which include low-cost medical, dental, vision care for officers and dependent, eligibility to retire with a pension at 20 years of service, access to the GI Bill, which is typically cover a degree, and this benefit can be passed on and transferred to a dependent if you do not use that benefit. There are many other benefits that can be seen at the top of the slides, including things such as the housing allowance. Those are part of your compensation package, but they're not taxable because they are considered an allowance for your housing. We also have very generous leave allowance. So each officers are eligible to accrue up to 30 days of paid leave per year. And this starts at during your first year in the service at the rate of 2.5 days per month. Lastly, one of the best benefit is really working for an organization where officers shares a common ethos of service. There's an esprit de corps among the corps officers where everyone is really willing to help and support each other. As an example, I was working on this project a couple of years ago and I needed help from a subject matter expert. This officer happened to be stationed in Bangkok, Thailand. I sent him an email with my request, and they carved out an hour of their time during the middle of the night to talk to me and walk me through the area of their expertise. So we find that very common in the public health service, and that's one of my favorite benefits of being an officer. So how do you join the public health service? To become a public health service officer, you must complete the commissioning process, as well as finding a position with an agency where PHS officers serve, such as the FDA. These are separate processes that should take place simultaneously. So in order to be called to active duty, applicant must receive a favorable recommendation from an appointment board set up by the US Public Health Service, pass background check, pass medical clearance, and receive the presidential nomination. Generally, this process can take at least 9 months, and during the same time, you should also be looking for that federal position at an agency where PHS officers are assigned. There are some additional conditions that candidates must meet, including having the education and training requirements, such as having an MPH, meeting height and weight standards, maintaining fitness, and must be medically qualified. Candidates should also be committed to professionally representing the public health service while in uniform. There are several ways to enter the U.S. Public Health Service. The most common route is to apply for general active duty, which is the process that we just went over. There are some other pathways, including transferring from other services. The U.S. Public Health Service also has several student training programs, which are known as the COSTEP programs, and we'll hear a little later on from Ensign Hondo about his experience being one of the COSTEPs. So to get started on your applications, please visit the link that's provided here and follow the steps. It's quite a process with some paperwork involved. So if this is something that you're interested in, even though you're not ready to apply yet, I would recommend just taking a look to see what's required as part of the application. So now we'll move into the next part of the presentation. And I'll start out with this question: which public health agency is responsible for regulating the products that are shown here on the screen? And if anyone would like to put the answer in the chat, that'd be great. I'll just give a few seconds for some guesses. Okay, so seeing no taker, that's fine. But if you were thinking the FDA, then you're right. So the work of the FDA touches the aspect of our everyday lives. FDA regulates food, drug, medical devices, radiation-emitting products, vaccines, blood, biologics, animal and veterinarian products, cosmetics, and tobacco products. As an agency, the FDA is organized into different product centers and offices. The agency has oversight of more than $3.6 trillion worth of products per year. In fact, the FDA regulates about 21 cents of every dollar that is spent in the US, including below some statistics for specific product categories. And I won't go over this in the interest of time. And this is a list of the laws that the FDA enforces. So as you can see, there's a wide array of rules and regulations that the agency enforces. And I'll mention that this is an example list. There are many other regulations and laws that we enforce. Within all the centers, the offices and offices at the FDA, the Office of Inspections and Investigations is the lead office for all FDA field activities. OII is organized into inspectorates, which are responsible for completing inspections of various commodities that are regulated by the agencies, including bioresearch monitoring, biologics, human and animal drugs, as well as human and animal food. In fulfilling our mission, OII works extensively with state, local, tribal, territory, and foreign counterparts to achieve our goal. These are the visions and mission of the Office of Inspections and Investigations. Our global inspections and investigations ensure FDA-regulated products are safe, trusted, and accessible. We conduct rigorous, transparent, and science-based inspection and investigations, providing real-time evidence and insight essential to empowering fact-based regulatory decisions to protect public health. As mentioned before, OII is organized into inspectorates, and each inspectorate is responsible for a specific type of commodities. And you can see those type of commodities here: bioresearch monitoring, biologics, medical devices, and radiological health inspectorate, human and animal drugs, food products, and division of tobacco inspectorate. The exception to the specialization into different commodities is the import program. They cover all the commodities that are imported into the US. So as an import investigators, the CSOs have to have wide knowledge of all the products that we regulate here at the agency. Given the nature of OII's work, our staff operates throughout the world, including at FDA's headquarters in Silver Spring, Maryland, and throughout district offices, resident posts, mail facilities, port of entries, and other locations in the US and territories. OII professionals work in a range of program areas and locations in over 227 offices. So when it comes to geographic diversity, there is a wide variety of opportunities. And this is really only a showing of where officers are permanently located. Given the work that we do, investigators and CSO travel often throughout the country and throughout the world to accomplish our mission. In today's world, other countries produce significant portions of the food and medical product that US consumers use in our daily lives. In fact, foreign facilities in more than 150 countries export FDA-regulated products into the United States. So as such, there's a need for FDA to screen products that are presented to the US at port of entry for import. It's also essential for our officers to conduct foreign inspections, as well as having a permanent presence in China, India, Latin America, and Europe. And these foreign locations are also expanding in the next few years. So these are some photos of to highlight some of the locations that one of our investigators have recently traveled to conduct inspections. This officer went to Nicaragua, British Columbia, China, Florida, Colorado. So you can see that there's a variety, some domestic, some international. I'd say that a typical inspection would last about 3 to 4 days. When you're on a foreign inspection, such as to China, British Columbia, or Nicaragua, those trips tend to be about 3 weeks long, and during those 3 weeks, you'll do about three inspections, and then you'll return back to the office to write the report. ORA field officers have the primary responsibility for conducting these inspections and investigations, as well as collecting samples, which may lead to recommendation for enforcement and regulatory actions. In addition to completing the inspections, OII also carry out criminal investigations, coordinate emergency responses involving FDA-regulated products, and review imported entries into the US. And as a fun fact, the FDA is the only public health agency that actually has a criminal enforcement branch. Office of Criminal Investigation is a unique factor in that. In response to violations, the agency can take a variety of actions, such as issuing warning letters, seizures, injunctions, and sometimes even criminal prosecutions. And that's really where our Office of Criminal Investigations come into play. People have been sent to prison for crime that is associated with FDA-regulated products. So in addition, ORA's regulatory and public health activities also includes partnerships with various entities, including awarding contracts to our public health partners and having cooperative agreements and assigning grants to assist with public health initiatives throughout the country. We also work with industry to remove hazardous product. Oftentimes, this is done through voluntary actions by the industry. We share information, train, and grant contract to the states and territory. We work to reduce tobacco consumptions and regulate the manufacture and marketing of FDA-regulated materials. As well, we offer free education material and speakers to provide consumers with accurate and scientific-based information. We have many different career paths in the FDA, whether you've studied medicine, public health, science, engineering, computer science, or even law, FDA has something available for you. The most common positions within OII is the consumer safety officer or investigator position. As these positions really is the backbone of our center, CSOs are also known as investigators because they travel domestically and internationally to inspect and investigate manufacture of regulated products and ensure compliance with applicable laws and regulations that are enforced by the agency. CSOs collect evidence to document noncompliance, including product and environmental samples for laboratory analysis. They document their observations and finding, write reports of their finding for their supervisors and compliance reviews. And based on those reports, the agency can take the previously mentioned regulatory actions. CSO candidates must have a bachelor's degree or graduate degree in qualifying assurance or a related degree that includes at least 30 semester hours in one of the combination areas shown below. So it could be 30 credit in science, or it could be a combination of the different categories. Or it could be 30 credits in engineering, technology, legal investigations, and so on. Another option is to be evaluated is based on a combination of education and experience, again, with the 30 semester hours on these subjects, as well as your professional experience or any additional education that you may have. Now, I'll go back one slide just to clarify that these are the requirements for the traditional Title V hiring qualifications. FDA as an agency also has a direct hiring authority known as Title 21. And under this title, candidates are examined based on a combination of education and experience again. However, the criteria is a little different than what's defined previously, and this slide will be available for you to review as well. Okay, so in the next two slides, we've included a few examples of public health servants that are assigned to FDA that makes important everyday contributions to safeguarding Americans. So when the slides become available, please visit this link to learn about the work that they do and the different career options that are available at our agency. Again, here's another slide with those examples, diving into some work-life balances at FDA and the different pathways to come into the Food and Drug Administration. So applications for positions at the FDA can be submitted through USA Jobs, and you can click on the OII or FDA link or for a direct link to the positions that are in the respective center or agency. So by clicking directly, you'll find the OII positions or FDA positions from those links. So in these next few slides, you'll find information about the various pathways which are designed to attract students and recent graduates to public health service. And this is known as our pathway programs. Really, participants who are successful in completing these pathway programs, there's an option to convert to permanent positions in the civil service. This pamphlet is available via the link, and you can read more information about the different pathway programs, such as the internship program, the recent grad program, and the presidential management fellowship. I will touch briefly on them in the next few slides as well. So FDA, through the Pathway Civil Service Internship Program, we offer paid internship for students. You can apply once a year, usually in the fall, and you work when your school schedule allows. An internship could make you eligible for conversion into a permanent job with the FDA. Another pathway is the recent grad pathway. And this is for people who have graduated within the last 2 years, and you must apply within the 2 years of getting your degree and certificate. Really, the benefit of this pathway is that because the number of people that are eligible to go through this pathway is smaller than the traditional positions, you do have a better chance of securing the positions through the pathway. Lastly, the Presidential Management Fellowship Program is another pathway that's available for public health professional. And this is after you have earned your degree, so you can apply through this website that's listed here. Lastly, so this slides include some additional resources and other programs that are available for your consideration. So we're providing this here and other links for you to review and just consider. Okay, so at this time, I'm gonna circle back to what we mentioned previously about the U.S. Public Health Service and the student program that we have. So the student programs that are within the Public Health Service are known as the COSTEP program. So notably, it's the Senior COSTEP and Junior COSTEP program. A Junior COSTEP is very similar to a traditional internship, where students enter during their second and third year of pursuing a qualifying degree. And this is like a summer internship that lasts about 30 to 90 days during the time that you're not in school, and you can experience what it's like working at one of the public health agencies and being an officer of the Public Health Service. The Senior COSTEP is a little different. Senior COSTEP is an early commissioning program for students entering their final year of training. A Senior COSTEP commission as a student, and as a Senior COSTEP, you're actually assigned the O1 pay grade, and you are an officer while you go to school during that last year. And once you graduate, you have a 2-to-1 service obligation to the agency that sponsor you. So for me, as an example, I actually came into the Corps as a Senior COSTEP, pharmacy Senior COSTEP. During the last 9 months of my education, I was an O1 officer. I received the O1 officer pay and benefits. And when I graduated, I actually went to the Bureau of Prisons to work as a pharmacist because they were the agency that sponsored me for my training. So, and the Junior Co-Stat program, so we have a great example of someone who's recently done it from your school, Ensign Tatsuya Hondo. So at this time, I'm going to hand us over to Ensign Hondo, who will share his experience as a Junior Co-Stat with the FDA's Office of Inspections and Investigations Division of Northeast Import. Ensign Hondo, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Ensign Hondo. I'm a CUNY SPH student. I'm currently working on my supervised field work with Professor Grassman, trying to specialize in environmental health and occupational science. My background is in anthropology, so I have training in anthropology and GIS, Geographic Information Science, and I'm trying to pursue public health. This summer for 3 months, I completed the training program for FDA out of JFK International Airport. Next slide, please. And there are many duty stations during the training program. I'm based in New York. I'm from Forest Hills, New York. And about 20 minutes away was JFK. Next to the airport, there's an international mail facility. These facilities, they're basically the major hubs for USPS. They sort all the mail coming from overseas. We have these large facilities. I was assigned here as an inspector for the mail parcels, specializing in pharmacy. Next slide, please. Thank you. And, the training, it was very challenging, but I had a background as a pharmacy technician at a CVS. So I used to work at CVS in the back, helping to package and inventory pharmacy, drugs, and medical products. This was one of the findings. So we know that the US has a major opiate epidemic. Tapentadol, this was opiates concealed in the mail. So someone was trying to smuggle, they're trying to hide the opiates inside a dietary product. You can see on the left side, that's an Indian dietary product. And being able to stop this as someone who is in the training program for FDA was pretty big impact. Next slide. Thank you. And I'm just going over some of the drugs just so what are the products I'm seeing. I specialized in pharmacy. There are other specializations like imports. So you have food products, you have shipping containers coming from overseas, the food's being stored in like warehouses on the New Jersey coast, somewhere in Brooklyn, others on Long Island City. So you have investigators, you have FDA investigators going to warehouses, checking to inspect the food, or they're based at the mail facility like myself, inspecting what's coming in. This drug is a drug that's used to divert and create this thing called Neptune's Fix. It's like a drug you sometimes see at the gas stations. So drug diversion is a big thing, and the FDA is part of regulating and stopping the active ingredients from coming in. Next slide, please. And this is my biggest find for the summer. This is over $60,000 US in product. And, we have, what we see here is we have capsules coming in bags, in bulk, several packages. You can see all the packages, they come in a unique, packaging. These drugs are not approved by the FDA. We're not sure how accurate, everything is. We're not sure what's inside of these. So being able to stop everything that's coming in through the mail to ensure safety and making sure that Americans are getting the products that they're ordering. That's very important. So that's one of the FDA's missions. Next slide. What happens to flight products? So I was working at the mail facility. I was opening packages with my colleagues. We were inspecting. We were making sure, hey, is this FDA approved? Hey, what is this? Maybe it's a bag of pills or tablets and they're unmarked. We're not sure what it is. So what happens? Everything we marked becomes a case. We put it on the side. And once we receive approval to destroy, next slide, please, you can see we have a company that comes in. This is a third party that comes in, picks up everything that was flagged. And on the bottom, you can see some of the federal charges that we work with as investigators. So we have 3 charges below. And next slide. Thank you. And this is the end goal for investigators at the International Mail Facility, being able to stop unknown or potentially dangerous medical drugs and devices from going into the market. So you see, we have packages that were marked. We have loose products that we've collected in a bin. And we want to make sure that nothing leaks into the environment. That's why we got the black liner inside. And I think that it is my last slide. Yes. But if you are interested in inspections, the people I've worked with, they have different backgrounds. Someone I worked with had a background in biology. Other people have a background in public health, a master's in public health. And if you have a background in health, that really helps out because this is public health, but it doesn't mean that you're required to have background in health. You can have background in consumer safety, biology, or the sciences. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Anson, Hondo, so much for sharing your experience. Now, transitioning back in this final slides, we've included several links for you to access and review. We have also included contact information for you to learn more about the application process for the PHS commissioning. Additionally, if you're interested in serving with the Food and Drug Administration's Office of Inspections and Investigations, please reach out to our office at oiicc@fda.hhs.gov, and we would be more than happy to discuss with you for the process on how to apply either to FDA or to the Public Health Service Commission Corps. So it's been our pleasure to speak about the FDA's Office of Inspection and Investigations, as well as the Public Health Service Commission Corps. And at this time, we're happy to address any questions that you may have.
There are a few questions that came in through the chat, if we want to start there.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I'll work from the bottom up. So the last question is, are there pathways to hiring for U.S. citizens with an accredited MPH degree who are currently living abroad?
Oh, that's a great question. So as a U.S. citizen with an MPH, you do meet the qualifications and conditions to one commissioning to the Public Health Service or to be in a positions with the FDA. So you would apply like any other candidates. However, if you would have to apply for positions somewhere, right? So that location would be dependent on the position. So say if you were living in China, you could apply to a position that's located right now in Maryland or right here in Seattle where I am. Or if there are vacancies in the foreign offices with FDA, you could apply to those. So your current locations doesn't restrict which options you have. But your geographic mobility and flexibility may come into play when it comes to positions that you can be considered for.
Great, thank you. Our next question, so what does the job stability look like given, the current changes, right, with the upcoming administration? So what does that look like for FDA, for OI, for the, Public Health Service?
Sure. That's a great question, and I'm sure there's a lot of discussions about this right now as we recently had an election. However, the agency has been here for a long while through many different administrations, and through all these administration changes, the constant fact is that our officers, our investigators, continue to be dedicated to the public health work that we do, and we continue to work to protect American consumers. So the work continues to be there. Regardless of the administration.
Okay, and can you talk a little bit about the work-life balance? What does that look like?
Sure. So the FDA within the Department of Health and Human Service really is one of the best agencies to work in terms of work-life balances. And as investigators, there is flexibility, and this really is dependent on the position. And thus we do have various policies within the agency that support work-life balance, such as allowing for telework when it's reasonable, remote work when it's reasonable, alternate schedule, such as working 4 10-hour days per week and having a regular day off on the schedule. So those are some of the factors that comes into play. We also have really great support programs within the agency, such as the agency pay for an exercise training program that our officers have access to, as well as really great benefit when it comes to family leave, such as maternity leave, paternity leave, and things like that.
So there's definitely some flexibility there, which is always great to hear. Next question, can you talk about citizenship requirements?
Sure. So typically for federal positions, you do need to be U.S. citizens, and especially for the Public Health Service, in order to commission with the U.S. Public Health Service, you do have to be a U.S. citizen. There are very limited some options available for non-citizens through some pathway that the FDA has, where permanent residents may be able to find some options to have exposures and experience at the agency. However, to recap, the majority of the positions will require the applicant to be U.S. citizens.
Okay. And I think Tetsuya answered a few questions in the chat. Thank you so much for doing that. We had another question come in. What would you say? Well, I guess it's twofold because I had this question too, in terms of talking about best practices for applying for a position, and then what would make someone's application materials competitive, right?
Sure.
So really put them up there for a chance to
Yes.
get a position.
So I'll first answer this from the Public Health Service perspective, and it can be applied to the FDA as well. So when applying to an organization, right, it's important to demonstrate that you align with the agency and the organization's missions and goal. So for the Public Health Service, that's to protect, promote, and advance the health of the nation, and our core values of leadership, service, integrity, and excellence, right? So in your applications, really demonstrate how you have followed with that commitment. What have you done that aligns with those core values? And that's something that could make you stand out. When it comes to federal applications through USA Jobs, USA Jobs does have some specific requirements in terms of what the resumes needs to include, such as listing how many hours you work per week, and how long you were in those positions. And there's a really great tool on those websites that you can use to build your resume to ensure that it's in the right format, and it communicates information that needs to be presented.
Maureen, you have a question. Did you want to hear specifically about student externships? I think that's what you're referring to. She said yes. Okay, so if you can talk more on externships, if you know of any.
So externship, are you referring to the COSTEP program that we mentioned earlier? Yeah, so there are two COSTEP programs, right? The junior COSTEP and the senior COSTEP program. The junior COSTEP program being a shorter program that's more similar to an internship during the summer. And that can happen, at any agencies that public health officers work. We had a junior COSTEP program here at the FDA, and St. Hondo was in that position, and he was assigned to the Office of Import Operations in Division of Northeast Imports. That assignment could also be in other locations within OII, such as the recall branch, healthcare fraud branch, or it could be with one of the inspectorates during inspections. So the assignment variety is pretty wide with those assignments. The senior COSTEP program it's a little different. So because it's an early commissioning process, you are committed to entering the service after you graduate. and giving that payback obligation. On senior co-step programs, typically in your last year of school, your responsibility is to complete your training and education. And there is really not a lot of other tasks unless the agency specifically asks for them. Your main duty really is to graduate, and once you graduated, you provide that service back to the agency that have sponsored you.
Great, thank you. Hey, are there any other questions that we can answer for you all? Well, not me specifically, but our presenters. So I guess for me, and this is more so directed towards Tatsuya as a student, can you, I guess, give maybe some final words, right, of why this would be a great opportunity for, you know, a current student at CUNY SPH from your own experience?
Yes, thank you, Maya. So one of the things that really attracted me to the U.S. Public Health Service is this is a uniform service, and it's a federal position. There is a lot of upwards promotion, and there's also like great work to be complete. There's also many projects. The officer, the colleagues you work with, because when you're at FDA, you're not only working with public health service, but you're working with FDA civilians who've worked there for like 10 years, 15 years. And these inspectors, they've seen so many stuff in the field. You get to hear these stories, you interact with them. I feel like the FDA or federal jobs in general, or government jobs, are very beneficial for people, you know, who are looking for growth. I was actually a state employee previously for about 6 years with New York State. So I happen to be very privileged and, you know, very blessed to know like what it feels like to work in a government as a government employee. So if you're trying to pursue like a government job where you want to contribute to public health in a federal uniform way, where there's structure, where you can provide an impact, you know, in a uniform way, then I think this would be a big interest to you. Yeah. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Hey, any other last words from our, go ahead, Lieutenant.
Yeah, I was going to mention, ma'am, one of the questions that's come up often when people consider these positions with the FDA is, you know, I don't have any experience doing inspections and investigations. You know, how would I even start to get into these positions? So I want to address that by saying that first, you know, your training and educations in public health is, you know, critical in the work that we do here at FDA. Also want to point out that the inspections and investigation work that FDA does is very unique, and not a lot of other organizations do the work that we do. So knowing that, the agency actually is very invested in training our investigators. So once you've been hired, we put you through a rigorous training process for you to be competent in completing these inspections and investigations. During your training, you'll also get a lot of one-on-ones with senior investigators and inspectors, so that you not only learn from the books, but also learn firsthand from people with real-life experience. And really, the options and opportunities that are available really is only limited to, you know, your interests and what you're willing to explore. Just to reflect a little bit, before coming to this position as a commission co-liaison, I was actually myself an investigator with the imports program, and I had really unique opportunities. You know, I got to set up programs with the Custom and Border Enforcement to ensure that, you know, products that were being snugged through and smuggled were now being detected, and actions were being taken by the agency. I also had the opportunity to travel to Guam, one of the U.S. territories that previously did not have an FDA presence, to do initial evaluation to see if the agency should be there. You know, and while I was there, I had the opportunity to work with their public health workforce and provided training to that group to ensure that they have the knowledge and understanding to regulate products that FDA regulates.
Great, thank you so much. So I think I don't see any other questions in the chat. So we can go ahead and wrap up today's info session. I am putting a link in the chat for an evaluation survey for those that are attending here today. Just let us know how you felt about the session. I absolutely want to thank the presenters from OII. This was extremely knowledgeable and informative, so thank you so much for spending the time with us today. For those that are watching, you will receive a post-event email that will include the slides from today and the recording. Okay, so thank you so much, and you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.